Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showcasing, in my opinion, the most underrated opening ever, that being the Portuguese Gambit. With so many e4 plays going around, this tricky d5 Gambit will certainly take your opponents off guard. I'm going to be running through the theory and then a quick example game at the end. Let's hop into it. The Portuguese Gambit is an opening for the black pieces. After white plays e4, we're going to be responding with d5. This is the Scandinavian defense. After takes though, we're now going to be recapturing with our queen instead of playing knight f6. This is called the modern Scandinavian, but we're not yet at our Gambit. White plays d4, and instead of recapturing, we play bishop g4 attacking the queen. So although white has a lot of choices in blocking here, any sort of piece block will result in us recapturing this pawn. White might be tempted to play the move f3, and after bishop f5, this is our Gambit position. The reason it's a Gambit is because we're a pawn down, and after white plays the move c4, they are definitely hanging on to this pawn. So now let's have a look at the great attacks that we get here. We will play the move e6 here, chipping back at the white centre, and after white takes this pawn, we're going to be playing the amazing move knight c6. And after e takes f7 check, king takes f7, black has quite a big advantage. Let's just have a brief evaluation of this position here. We have 3 of our pieces out on active squares. This rook can easily come to the e file. This bishop's ready to come out with a check, and our knight and our queen are attacking this pawn in the centre. It's easy to see why black wins 74% of the games here. If white wants any chance of surviving here, the d4 pawn needs to be protected. So here we're going to be having a look at the moves knight e2 and bishop e3. Let's have a look at bishop e3 first. Although this does defend the d4 pawn, it's a -3 advantage for black. After the move bishop b4, for example knight c3 and rook e8, this rook has come to the e file, pinning down the bishop. If queen d2 were played, then we'd have queen takes d4, this bishop is pinned, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, after queenside castle, and rook takes e3, rook takes d4, bishop takes c4, b takes c4, and rook a e8. It's a -4 advantage here for black. This c3 pawn will be lost, and all of these pieces are still on the back rank. Going back to this position, we just had a look at if white defends with queen d2, but what about king f2? This is an even crazier line after the rook sacrifice. Rook takes e3, after the king recaptures, we're going to be playing bishop c2. This tries to deflect the queen away from the defense of the d4 pawn. For example, if queen takes c2, then this will end in a mate. Something like this. So coming back to the position after king f7, we just had a look at bishop e3, which we refuted. So now let's have a look at knight e2, the only move that still defends the pawn. After this, we're going to be playing knight b4. We have a very annoying threat of knight c2, and it's not easy to stop. For example, if knight a3, then we could come in here with a check. Something like this, bishop e4, check, knight c3 blocks, and we've just got a nice fork here. So I think this definitely shows that it's not very easy to stop knight c2. Let's go back to this position then. After here, there's 2 main moves that we're going to look at, and both are quite a concession for white to make. The first one is knight g2, and then the second is king f2, just getting out of the way. So let's have a look at knight g3. The idea behind this move is that it's attacking our bishop. So if we were to play a natural move like knight c2 check, after the king move, our bishop is hanging, and although we can play a move like bishop g6, and this rook is still trapped, after c5, I feel like white has quite a lot of compensation for this exchange that will be lost. So instead of knight c2, I'm recommending the move bishop c2. After queen d2, we have the amazing move bishop c5. Bishop c5 attacks this pawn and it just gets ready to open up the e file for our rook. The takes and rook e8 check. It's really not easy to deal with this check. If bishop e2 was played blocking the check, or knight e2 for that matter, then we would have knight d3 check. The only square for the king is f1, and after which queen d, and after queen d4, the only way to stop this, and after queen d4, the only way to stop this mate on f2 is to give up the queen. And after queen d4, the only way to stop this mate on f2 is just to give up the queen. So that means that after rook e8, this king must move. After this, we have knight d3 check. This is captured, and again, instead of immediately taking back, we have queen d4. The only way to prevent mate is to give up the queen again. If the king were to retreat to f1, then bishop takes d3, and this does lead to a mate in a. White must block with one of these pieces here. So coming back to this position after knight b4, knight g3 doesn't look so good. So the only real move to consider here would be king f2, the best move. It looks very strange, but it does just get out of the way of this fork here. And in this position, we have the amazing move again, bishop c5. This can't be taken due to the fact that this queen on d1 would hang, and it's so difficult to find a move here for white. I'll just turn on the engine to see what it thinks here. So it's recommending queen d2 as an only move, pretty much, for which we have knight d3 check, the king comes back to g1, a few trades on d4, and a queen trade is recommended. The evaluation is -1, but realistically, black will always win these games. There's just so much activity, all of these pieces are horrible on the back rank. I'll just carry on a bit. Rook h1, the bishop comes back to f2. We can take a pawn here if we like, or just bring all of our rooks to the center. This just looks like a crushing position here. Knight c3, yeah, we're definitely gonna get our pawn back, and we have so much activity, and these pieces are so locked up. I think this is a really crushing gambit, and with that, it's time to move on to some example games. Alright, let's jump into a game of blitz here. Hope we get black. Nice. All our opponent has to do now is play e4. Right, nice. We're going to be playing d5, so the Scandinavian, but this isn't the opening that we're looking for. Knight f6, so this is the modern variation. But again, f3. Could I make this transpose? Because if I play bishop f5, you get a very similar position. I think c4. Very strange move f3 by our opponent, but I think we can make this transpose. Because after e6, it would be like the position, but with a tempo up because the d4 pawn doesn't exist. So it looks even better for us. Again, our threats are coming into this c2 square. Knight c3. So what's my opponent's plan after I play that? I suppose d3 does defend quite well. In that case, maybe I should be playing knight b4. Okay, I'm going to play knight b4. This knight on c3 also means that it can't reroute to a3. Opponent sacks a pawn. I don't think that's any good. I'll take that. Very strange play from my opponent. I can take that. And the material is equal, but we are quite active here. It would be interesting to see how this could be converted. So this c4 pawn, it's attacked, but my opponent's counter-attacking this pawn. I think I might throw in a check first, and after that, I'll capture this pawn. We'll have a pawn trade, and then I'll get my rooks into the centre. Looks like quite a good plan. Yeah, I'll capture this. That's weird, my opponent attacks my bishop first before taking this pawn. I'll get my bishop on this diagonal. I think it would be quite good there. This also opens the c file, or for when I decide to attack this bishop, when it captures on c7. Opponent doesn't capture on c7. This knight could be annoying, although I think I'll be fine. I think I'll capture this knight, just to simplify a little, and then I'll play c6 probably to defend this pawn. c6. And now, yeah, I'll just bring this rook to the d file, offer a trade. And then next I'll bring this rook to the f file, and in fact I don't really need to artificially castle my king since it's so late in the game. I can just bring all my pieces out. So that's what I'll do. I'll bring my rook to the e file. Okay, opponent does trade. Very interesting position. I'll definitely go for a h6, g5 sort of plan. So opponent attacks my bishop. But I'm not sure that's a good idea, since when I retreat my bishop, this rook has to stay defending this a3 pawn. I'm going to retreat my bishop to... I'm going to retreat to e7, so b4 wouldn't hit it if I move to c5. I am threatening rook d3 here. Yeah, we're going to win a pawn no matter what. We have a rook trade. This a7 pawn does now hang though. I will take this, simplify a little. and just take some space my king now. This seems like more of an endgame lesson than an opening lesson, but it is what it is. I don't really think this bishop could be trapped. Although c5 would be a good attempt. I think I might just retreat to d6. Since it is staring at these pawns, but maybe I could break there in the future. Might want to get these pawns moving up the board. Okay, I'll play b5. I think the kings are good here, and sort of on a standoff. Opponent tries to probably invade these dark squares over here. If I could secure all of these pawns over here, this king prevents this bishop from getting back. Maybe I could go and win all of these pawns over here. Something like this. Use these pawns as a sort of diversion. Yeah, this looks like quite a good plan. If bishop c5, then I'll throw in this check. Quite a long time, but I should be able to maybe win this. Okay. Now that I've provided this weakness, I'm going to come back. Definitely try rerouting my bishop. I have to make some pre-moves here. Oh, wait, is that a checkmate? No way! The king is... I mean, I think I'll keep this in just for that. Alright, well,